We are live. Hello and welcome to the Wooden Ball Show. I'm your host, Dave Ball, also known as Blinson on Reddit and at Blinson1 on Twitter. And join me by Blake, who is joining me is Blake, who is also known as B-Town Bomb on Reddit and at ShattonMyKirk on Twitter. Say hi, Blake.
Hello all. Hello faithful listeners. We are at the one of the most exciting time periods on the calendar year for sports.
Definitely.
The Stanley Cup Final is underway.
It's finally here. Finally get to see the best of the season.
Oh yes. And I'm also going to commit the cardinal sin real quick by also mentioning the NBA Finals tonight. Miami and San Antonio. Excellent rematch there. Just
Hockey Master Race.
I know. Just it's I think the first half of June, it's one of my favorite time periods of sports, of course, other than September through at least December. You get football, basketball, and hockey and all that. But but anyway, that was a other sport mention that game one starts tonight, by the way. But we're here for hockey, and we're here to
Yeah, we can branch into other stuff as the season's closing down. So, who's in the basketball finals anyway this year?
It is the Miami Heat, San Antonio Spurs, a rematch of last season. Actually, Miami got the better to notch their second straight.
It's only their second straight. I thought they were in it for more than that.
No,
I feel like they've been in it for the past like 5 years.
They've been in the finals for 4 or 5 years now,
okay.
but
they've only won it.
Yes,
okay.
And I'm gonna horribly stray off topic here real quick. When it comes to the NBA, I'm a fan of the Dallas Mavericks. I've been following them some, and they won their first championship in 2011. They defeated Miami, and I must say, no one expected that. No Miami people expected that. No one on that team. No fans expected that. No writers. Nobody. And I think getting their ass handed to them by Dirk and Carlisle and a bunch of knuckleheads, that was what turned the Miami Heat around and made them the team they are now. I definitely believe that.
Oh wow! There's always those are the best type of teams to win, though. The teams of all-stars never usually can do it. At least in hockey. I mean, look at your team.
Yeah.
Your team was a team of all-stars. Like usually, all-star teams can't do it, but I guess it's different in basketball.
It's you hear a lot about the all-stars in the NBA. Like when you hear about Miami, you think of LeBron and D Wade and Bosh and all that, but you really don't hear much about the behind-the-scenes stuff because there's a whole lot of other guys. There's Spoelstra, their coach.
They have a well-rounded team.
A lot of the NBA teams, they have. It's really a team sport as much as people like to not think that it is, but there are a lot of guys that go into producing a championship team.
Yeah. All sports are basically team sports. No matter what people have to say, there's always a team element involved. So you can't just say no, it's a one-man sport. No, all teams are team sports. Everyone relies on everybody. You can't just have one person go out there and steal the show. One person cannot do everything. Maybe in one game someone can do something and carry the team on their back, but they can't constantly do it.
So that was Miami. Everyone's already very familiar with Miami, but San Antonio. I don't know how they didn't win last year. Last year they were amazing. I do think, though, for those of you that paid attention to it last year, if Ray Allen hadn't made that three-pointer in Game 6, I think, San Antonio would have won that thing. But that was the Game 6, and that was probably what just ripped their hearts out. And they had to go through a Game 7 to officially end it, and that was no fun. But I think with San Antonio, I think this year, no matter what happens, if they win it or not, this is going to be the end of this era with Popovich and Duncan and Parker and all of them, because they're old people and they don't have a lot left.
People.
Yeah, and they don't have a lot left in them. And I definitely think this is going to be the year, the final year of that dynasty kind of feel, that era of the Spurs franchise. Because if Duncan goes, so goes Popovich. You see that in sports a lot. When you have a coach who's coached a legend, really, a bona fide Hall of Famer in any particular sport, their whole entire career, if that player goes, the coach goes.
Yeah.
That does happen a lot.
I'm not used to talking about basketball because, well, in my area, we don't really have a good basketball team.
It's really a shame what's happened with the 76ers, too.
Yeah. It's all because they traded away, like, Wilt Chamberlain and all those people back in the 80s. They traded away and haven't really been good since.
Well, they had
Iverson for a little bit.
Yes.
They had a good team in, like, 2003, like, 2001, basically. But since then, no. Just no.
Mm-hmm. And gosh, I hope they turn that around too, because Philadelphia in general, it's a really good sports town.
For basketball, not so much. The people that would watch the games can't afford to go to the games. That's the big thing with basketball.
Oh.
It's not like all the sports teams really thrive on the suburban support, and no one really in the suburbs like focuses on going to the games as much as people in the city that love going. People in the city love the Sixers, which is why they're still there. They still get like TV coverage from that, but no one goes to the games.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at if you ever watch 76ers, probably 90% of the stadium's empty.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we ever see their stadium. I mean, I've seen the Wells Fargo packed with orange, but you never really see it packed when it comes to the Sixers. Because as of right now, they're not a team with a true identity.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I don't know enough about basketball to really go past.
Yeah. And my quick NBA Finals prediction before we end this segment: Spurs in 7. That's me. They're definitely looking to close out what I'm most positive is the end of that current era with Popovich and Duncan and Parker and all them. They're looking to close that era out with a bang.
Okay.
And also looking to get revenge. That's rematches.
Revenge stories are always the best.
Yes. I mean, rematches are always fun in sports.
I mean, after like shooting back to hockey, the 08 and then the 09 Stanley Cup finals between the Wings and the Penguins.
Mm-hmm.
You love revenge stories.
Yes.
You love them. So that is what it is.
But and that was a good segue back into hockey, and
yes. Now you know
we'll tell you what's
going on in the NHL around the league.
Yes, we'll begin with our NHL quick hits.
The Islanders have gone after Dan Boyle and have traded for his contract rights. If he is not re-signed, they only give up a 5th round, but if he does get re-signed, they get a 4th round draft pick. They give up a 4th round draft pick. How old is Dan Boyle? He's like 37, isn't he? Yeah, he's 37.
He's certainly a part of the aging core with San Jose.
Yeah. I'm not quite I mean, any type of defenseman fixes their defense there. Because, I mean, they've lost 2 of their big time log defensemen, the Islanders, in the past year. With, both going to the Flyers. Mark Streit, their former captain, used to log big minutes. And then, after he was traded, they didn't really have anybody step into his place. So they put Andrew McDonald there, who was then traded to the Flyers. And Andrew McDonald is not a bad defenseman, in a sense, but he just had too many minutes on the Islanders. So,
and I think the Islanders have a very young defensive core too. They're looking to get a veteran in there.
Defense anyway. Let me look that up.
And I think this is kind of giving me mixed signals from the San Jose camp.
Mm-hmm.
You would maybe think that this would tell you that San Jose is ready to essentially start a new era and work on um, uh, some more younger guys and move on from Thornton or Marlowe or Boyle or any of those guys. But
they're not going to trade Thornton and Marlowe.
But no. And
they're going to retire as Sharks. If they didn't retire as Sharks, everyone would be very angry because they are known as Sharks.
And at the same time, though, I don't think San Jose really needs to drastically change anything. I think
they've
they're
made the playoffs how many times? I mean, yes, their choking is a problem, but they are a constant playoff threat.
But let's also look at it this way from this year. They were one game away from a series sweep of the Los Angeles Kings and made it all the way to the Stanley Cup final. So they have the talent. They can definitely play with some of the top teams in the league, but they just got to have just that little extra budge to just get over the hump.
But how much of that extra budge going to be done because of how old their core is? I mean, Marlowe and I don't know, what's his name? Thornton are not getting any younger.
No.
And neither is the Wookiee. What's his name?
Oh,
Boyle? No.
Burns. But
Burns, yeah. He's pretty old too. Isn't he like 32, 33?
Well,
I think Burns is like 32, 33 right now.
I don't think he's too terribly old. I honestly
29.
I honestly don't think age is much of an issue with Burns.
Yeah, he's really good still.
I think he's either. I think Burns is awfully close to reaching his peak with his age. The average peak of NHL players, when you look at age, I think Burns is awfully close to there, just based solely on age. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. He's 29 though. How much longer can a player like him go? Especially with the core that he's with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, if the people around him start to break down, is he gonna drop off because of that? I mean, they do have Logan Couture on their team, who is very young. But who else besides Logan Couture do they have that could step into the roles that, Thornton and Marlowe are playing?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Who do they have on their team? Hold on.
I kind of think San Jose is kind of in a precarious situation with this, but at the same time, they're really not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They have Hertl, who can play. He's getting older, and hopefully he doesn't drop off after his rookie season.
Mm-hmm.
Then they have Logan Couture. Pavelski isn't that old, is he?
No, Pavelski's.
Pavelski. How old is Joe Pavelski?
I will say though, after his remarkable regular season, it's going to be very interesting to see how he follows that up. Because unless you're someone like Ovechkin or Stamkos or Crosby or some of those bona fide talented players, if you have really good seasons like that, most of the time you see that they'll kind of start to struggle a little bit the following season.
Yeah, I mean they also have Vlad, who I don't think Vlad's that bad, is he? You know more about their team than I do. Really.
Havlat does have the injury issues. That's his big issue.
Mm-hmm. Outside of them, they don't have too many people, in my opinion. Again, you know more about their team than I do, so you've seen them more than I have.
But Havlat has proven to be a really good player. There was a point in Chicago's 2010 championship season where he was essentially the best player on their team.
Yeah. I'm putting a question out right now. Yeah.
Um,
I'm
well,
not. Yeah.
I
Go ahead.
suppose moving on to the um, next NHL quick hit, World Cup of Hockey might be back.
Yeah.
I'm
That.
actually I'm actually not too entirely familiar with what the World Cup of Hockey is, so I'm going to let you.
Basically, like the way I was described, I didn't know too much about it either last night, but we
Mhm.
were talking about it, and from what I understand, it's kind of like the Olympics, but not in an Olympic year. It would take place during the summer, but not like the World Championship, where it's like still during the NHL season. It would like take place during the summer, so everybody can send their best players every single year and win this thing. It's kind of like the World Cup of Soccer, where everyone sends their best players during a time when no like national soccer teams are playing. It's all international teams playing. Basically, think of it like the Olympics, but with hockey, just hockey. And one of the big places, the first place that it might be going to is Toronto, is where they're thinking about putting it for the first one. So.
The, this actually sounds like a really amazing concept, and I wonder why they don't do this like, every 4 years, like FIFA would do with their World Cup. Um, you'll get your best players. They'll still be having playing time. They'll still um, it'll decrease time. Uh, it'll decrease the amount of time for them to, I guess, lose a bit of their talent. But again, when you're professional athletes, I don't really think you have to worry too much about that in the off season
Mm-hmm.
compared to high school or college athletes.
Yeah.
Um,
It will be likely to return in September 2016, so it's still a little bit off.
mhm.
So.
I wonder though if it's if it's going to be in Toronto. I
Mhm.
wonder if they'll be using the North American or the European ice.
That is one of the biggest debates going on right now
Hmm.
because it's the NHLPA and the regular NHL talking about it. Not like IIHF talking about it, nothing like that. It's just these two people. So is it going to be an NHL run thing? So would it mainly be put in on American soil and American, because they want to keep it to one like stadium, like one town a year, kind of like the Olympics is in one place a year. And I don't know if it'll be a year or every 4 years, who knows, but if it's like NHL run, they will probably use NHL ice, which means it'll be difficult to send it over to the European because then Europeans will have to convert their ices to the World Cup rules.
Mm,
I mean, with the Olympics, it's still run by IHF, but you can use American like ice like we saw in Vancouver. It's
hmm
not strict on the ice, but with the World Cup, would it be strict on the ice? Or would the NHL be like, yeah, we can use whatever ice we want? But since it's not IIHF run, will you use NHL rules or like international rules, which is a big difference as we saw in the Olympics this year, with how a goal was called off this year because of the net not being on the peg. Yeah, I forget who was playing that game, but a goal was called off because the net wasn't on the peg. I know the Americans were playing because there's a huge thing with quick involved. So,
I
like,
do think, I do believe the IIHF at least should definitely be in charge of this if it's going to come into fruition, simply because, it's an international thing. Um,
yeah,
People
definitely.
from Canada and the United States, and of course from Europe, from Russia, from Sweden and Finland and all that, they're all going to be involved. It's a
Yeah.
international thing, plain and simple.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. So we still have a couple of years to talk about it, and we're not even sure if the NHL would want to do it.
Oh yeah.
That's the big thing about it, because, like with the Olympics, do you really want to send your players out to a time when, in the summer, players are supposed to be resting and relaxing
Yeah.
and, calming down from, the NHL, and for the teams in the playoffs, they are coming down from a hard, grueling series that they've just played. And who would you be able to expect all those players that have played in the playoffs to take maybe a month off, then go right back into hockey, where they basically don't get a summer, they don't get time to relax, they get burnt out faster then.
And
And
again,
their
they're
careers might be shortened about because of it, because they're burned out quicker and they just get so tired that they just can't skate as well, they can't shoot as well. Then teams suffer because their best players aren't being their best players.
and of course there's more risk then of running an injury there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with how tired you are putting strain on your muscles, which could hurt them even worse. So we will have to see what happens with this. And if it does happen, would the NHL be still sending their best players, or would it be like the World Championship where players don't want to come out if they actually played in the playoffs and they're done? Because I know a lot of players said no to it. I know with my team, Claude Giroux and Jacob Voracek both said no, that they want to rest this year. Because I think they both played on it last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. We're not quite sure. It's still a year or so out, so it's not a big deal to worry about right now.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty.
I asked a question on Twitter. I said, how much longer do you think the San Jose Sharks still have to win? And we had a jump to shark. Daniel M has answered. When Marleau and Thornton retire, they'll still have a good team, but not as good. So he's gonna go with that. When Marleau and Thornton retire, they're basically gonna, kind of fizzle out. Still be in the playoffs, but not be the Sharks that we know.
Right.
Which I understand that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When those two retire, they are a huge portion of their team. So we'll see what happens with that. And if they do retire, who knows, they could end up changing the Sharks' philosophy because two of their big players are no longer there, so they have to rethink of how they play.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be something.
And speaking of the Sharks, our final NHL quick hit for this episode. Reportedly, the San Jose Sharks would be receiving an outdoor game for the next season, I believe.
Yes, what are they called? Outdoor series? Is that what they refer to as?
The Stadium Series.
The Stadium
Yes.
Series, that's what they're called.
Mm-hmm.
They would not get a Winter Classic, I don't feel.
No.
The Winter Classic, I feel, is going to stay mostly East Coast.
Yeah.
Because of the huge ratings markets. Not only that, playing at a 1 p.m. East Coast time is a lot easier to broadcast across the United States than playing 1 p.m. West Coast time. Because it would be 4 p.m. over the East Coast and people are eating dinner and not tuning in. You get less of an audience. So it'll most likely be East Coast thing with West Coast teams being maybe a away team, if that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think the only Western Conference team we might see get a Winter Classic would be Minnesota, if anything, maybe.
Yes.
They are definitely doing for something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so who do you think the Sharks would be facing, actually?
My money would definitely be on Los Angeles.
It's either Los Angeles or the Ducks.
It's
one of the two.
It's got to be LA. From an outsider's perspective, of course,
mm-hmm.
LA and San Jose has got to be.
Are they the bigger rivalry than than Sharks and Ducks?
And Sharks and Ducks, or Kings and Ducks, or whatever. That one's got to be the biggest rivalry in California there, because that's Southern California, Northern California, right there.
True, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was just a giant three-way of hate. Personally.
Well,
I didn't know there was a "we hate you a little bit more than you hate us" type thing. I just thought it was like Pennsylvania, where it's just a giant ball of hate.
I mean, I guess it's just that pageantry, with how completely different Northern California and Southern California are in culture and landscape and all that. it's kind of that geographical and that cultural kind of aspect embodied in two teams playing a hockey game. It's all that kind of
Hmm.
rolled into a hockey game there, and that's why I think it's probably the biggest rivalry there.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And it, and I think it just goes to show you. I know a lot of people like to bag on uh, hockey in California,
It's
but
taken root.
it really has. Hockey in California has exploded in popularity, especially in the Anaheim and Los Angeles area.
I mean, they got such a boost from when Gretzky came there, and then since Timu's been there, he got a huge following within Anaheim. Who else has been there? Like they have exploded. They're popular teams. Can't say that it's not working in California. Hockey is working in California. We're seeing players come out of California now. So
Yes, and I think that's that exposure and that popularity. I think it's kind of starting at least to get a much bigger foothold on popularity and all that in the Bay Area.
hmm definitely.
Um, I would certainly, again, I would certainly expect LA to be the opponent there, and I would expect ratings to be really good.
Yeah. I can't wait.
The the Anaheim LA ratings last year, those were phenomenal. I believe that one was probably the most popular of all the outdoor games, maybe with
Those
the
were the
exception
teams
of
that were doing well, weren't they? I mean, the Devils weren't doing well. The Islanders weren't doing well. Who else had an outdoor game?
well, there
Vancouver and
was
Ottawa
Chicago
weren't
and
doing well.
Pittsburgh,
And that was probably one of the top ratings,
but that game ended up being fairly one-sided. So,
yeah. So,
but
but
yeah, two very good teams at that time. Um, in an outdoor game in a very unique outdoor setting in Los Angeles there, the ratings for that were really good. And that's essentially what they're doing with figuring out where to put the game and what city and what stadium to put the game
yeah, they're
in
trying to
and
grow the game a lot easier that way.
grow the game,
Stadiums
grow
can
the
do.
ratings, get a lot of revenue, all that.
Hmm. For the Stadium Series, everyone also does the special, jerseys. What do you think? Do you think the Kings will go back to the purple, or what was it called, the royal blue or something? What do they refer to it as? Basically purple. Do you think they would go back to purple?
I would love to see them use those old timey purple ones there.
But they go with the
The,
Burger King logo. They should totally go with the Burger King logo.
well, and I actually kind of like that old timey crown that they had at
Yeah,
the
that was a
beginning
good
there.
crown.
That
Yeah.
yeah. San Jose though,
They've always been teal, haven't they? Black
they've
and
always
teal.
been teal, and they haven't had really fancy, flashy jerseys as much as LA would have had. But the
And
teal,
they
of course, it's
yeah.
very unique to the NHL.
And it's not like they can be like the Ducks where they make a full-fledged orange jersey.
But
They
yeah,
already have a full-fledged teal jersey
yes,
and
they
a
could have
black
a
jersey. There is nothing like I don't know what they were gonna do with their jerseys. There's like no throwbacks that they can do because they basically
nope.
have been the same. They
I
made
would
minor changes the entire
for
time.
the logos, I would expect either the old one, the two-dimensional one, or their current alternate where it includes the shark tail.
I would
Um,
actually
both
look.
are actually pretty good logos, but I would expect San Jose's jersey to be full-clad teal with one of two of those logos.
Okay, oh, that one right there. Do you think they would actually go Sharkpedo?
Oh,
The I think that's what we refer to as the Sharkpedo.
oh yeah.
They could go back to that jersey, that logo also.
hmm
But yeah,
hmm
I wouldn't know what they would do with their jerseys, so we'll see. Yeah, it's all we're not designing it, so
No, no.
I wish
Oh,
we could.
that would be fun. Yeah.
They
hmm
should their jerseys should be a fan driven concert. concert, fan-driven contest.
Now, you know what San Jose should do? I think the Kings warm-up jerseys in the Stadium Series against Anaheim, they were basically just Dodgers jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
I think San Jose should definitely make some Giants warm-up jerseys. That was a really nice touch. I quite enjoyed how they did that.
Yeah, could do something like that.
Either some Giants or Oakland Athletics or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
That was a really nice touch. I liked how the Kings did that.
Yeah, trying to tie the sports together. It's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Get more of a following from a different crowd that may or may not watch hockey. So definitely helps out. I guess we're going to go into our next topic, and before we do that, we want to get into the preview of the Stanley Cup. I guess we're trying to go into how both teams sort of got there, like who they faced, what like things they went through, maybe. So I guess we'll start off with you over there in the Western Conference and with the Kings.
Now, and I must say, before we break down the conferences and the teams, just these playoffs were absolutely amazing. I think.
Definitely.
At the beginning of the playoffs, I'm sure a lot of us would have seriously expected maybe seeing a Chicago-Boston rematch or something like that. I don't think, never in my wildest imaginations would I have, not at any point really, at the beginning of the playoffs, at middle of the regular season, whenever, I don't really think I would have seen this matchup.
I could see the Kings have gotten this far. The Rangers, though, I never expected in a million years it to be the Rangers to get this far.
I do feel you on the Kings, though. They might have had a better chance for it to not be Chicago.
The Kings are a very well-built team that have underperformed in the season, really.
Basically, they were better than last year's Kings, and the Blackhawks were not as good as last year's Blackhawks.
Well, it's hard to go half the season undefeated.
Yeah.
Every single season. Not everyone can do that over and over again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you just knew the gas had to run out of the tank eventually.
That's because they traded away Ray Emery. It's because they let Ray Emery walk. He went 17-1 for their team. How could you let the person who was almost or was it 17-0-1? I don't know if he was undefeated or just unbeaten in regulation, but it was one of those two. But still, how could you let someone do that? He won 17 games for them. How could you just let him walk?
Well,
same reason we're probably gonna let him walk.
But again, these playoffs have been absolutely amazing, and I just love how it's these two teams in the playoffs now. But beginning with the LA Kings, they have had just an absolutely remarkable playoffs, I think.
It's amazing what they've done. Come back from a 3-0 deficit.
Come back from a 3-0 deficit against the San Jose Sharks. They had to play 4 straight win or go home games. That is incredible.
Being a fan of a team that's done that, it is one of the greatest feelings in the world to see that Game 7, say, when you hear an announcer says you forced Game 7, it is one of the best feelings in the world.
And I would certainly think that the ride to there, games 4, 5, and 6 were probably gut-wrenching, to say the least.
Oh yeah.
But the Kings did it. I know we like to rag on the Sharks for losing that deficit, but it is absolutely amazing what the Kings did in the first round there.
Especially since how they started off that series.
Yes.
They were absolutely, hammered by the Sharks. The Sharks did everything correct, and the Kings did nothing. First
16
game was,
goals
62?
Against, I believe, in the first 3 games, or something like that.
And then somehow who knows what was said in the locker room? Did the coach finally stop muttering and start screaming at them? Did one of the players step up and be like, "We got this"? Who knows what happened in that locker room? But something clicked for them, and they just came out in that game 4, and they turned the series around. Once you force a game 4 like they did, it's difficult to keep them from keep doing it.
Hmm.
Once the team gets that momentum and they think we can do this, it is difficult to stop them.
And now, then they go on and defeat Anaheim in 7 games
Mm.
um, in the second round. That one was a very interesting series by the virtue
It
that
was hilarious.
I believe it was the first 4 games that you're required to play, of course,
Yeah,
that the home team went winless in those first 4 games, I believe.
I'll
So
look that up.
um, I'm fairly certain that's what it was. Having
Yeah,
to, so essentially, you were looking at a situation where you had to steal a home game, which is a
yeah,
very weird thing to
yeah.
hear and a very
Basically,
weird thing to do,
that's what
you know.
happened.
Hmm.
The home team lost the first 4 games. Game 5, it was in Anaheim, and Anaheim won. Then game 6, the Kings won.
Hmm.
So it started off with the Kings leading the series. Then the Ducks won 3 straight, and then the Kings won 2 straight to like win it all.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. And of course, then they go on to the third round in a
another
rematch of the Western Conference
7 game
Final.
series. It's amazing how
Now,
many 7 game series this playoffs for both sides have done. New York went to Game 7 in both of their series, first 2 rounds, and then Game 6 against Montreal. It's amazing how
and
many Game 7s there have
in
been.
LA with Game Sevens, keep in mind
Yeah, they played
they
every single Game 7.
on the road.
Oh yeah, they were always on the road. Do you think that's
Yes,
gonna throw them off being a Game 7 at home if they get to a Game 7?
huh?
Think it's gonna throw them off if they're go to a Game
Oh,
Seven this year and they're at home? Like, what is this home crowd cheering for us? I'm not used to this.
well,
Yeah, we'll see.
um,
Yeah.
but the third round, of course, was probably my favorite to watch.
hmm
Um,
It was such a fun
uh,
series to
oh
watch.
boy,
I
and
enjoyed this series so much.
as we touched on earlier, matchups in sports are always fun to watch,
hmm
or rematches, I should say, are
Yeah.
always fun to watch. And
And when you get
the
the same teams from, this is what is this like their third year in a row facing each other? Who faced the Kings during their cup run? Who was in their third round? Was that was the Coyotes? It was the
yeah,
Coyotes. Never mind.
I bet the 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 storyline at the end of that game 7, um, Chicago ended their bid for back-to-back cups in last season, and this season the Kings return that favor. That
hmm
that just sounds absolutely amazing right there.
It's definitely poetic. And
And that
I think the Kings are going to be the team to take it all the way. You need to start the preview of who our predictions are. But yeah, continue.
mhm. in that game 7, just incredible. Having to come back from 3 deficits, having
hmm
to get that overtime goal, all on the road too, all at
And
the Madhouse on Madison, one of if not the most toughest places to play in the league.
hmm. I thought if it would have been more poetic in all 3 series if LA was losing going into Game 6 and they had to force a Game 7, but no, that is false.
Yes.
So yeah, they were leading last round, but just barely won in Game 7 in overtime, which was like the
Hmm.
first overtime in like what 20 years in Game 7, first Game 7 overtime in a long time.
And interestingly enough, who was in that game 7 20 years ago? The New York Rangers. Hmm.
Yeah,
Um, here's a question, Dave, we can pose to our Twitter followers.
Okay.
Who or what do you think has been the catalyst for the Kings? Who or what do you think has brought the Kings to where they are now? While you're typing that question, I'm going to give you my answer. Who I believe has been the Kings' catalyst, who I believe has brought them to this point, Anze Kopitar. It's got to be Kopitar.
Oh, definitely.
Um,
I think him and Gabrick together has kind of forced the Kings to be where they are.
those two are simply amazing. That's a fun line, and Dustin Brown's there for the ride. That's that's a
That's a pretty good player to have for a ride.
yeah. Excuse me.
And it has to be the two of them. They have clicked like no other. Like Gabrick has always been good, but he's been injured and bounced around so much now. And now he comes here and he has, turned it around and somehow hasn't been injured, knocking on wood. And he's clicked with Kopitar and has done great.
I know Gabrick either has the lead or is tied for the team lead for goals this postseason, and I think the same for Kopitar with points. I mean, but with Kopitar especially, you have to wonder because he was on fire in their cup run in 2012, and then he was virtually non-existent in the playoffs after that. You have to wonder if Kopitar really is that X factor for the Kings and the grand arbiter, I guess, of how well the Kings do and how far they'll go in the postseason.
Kopitar has 24 points, leading the team, with Carter behind him at 23, with Gabrick having 12 goals, with Carter behind him having 9.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy, and that second line too, that 70s line, as it's known as, the Carter to Foley Pearson line. That line has been doing some real work too.
Oh yeah, they definitely have. I mean, Carter is, from a fan of the team that he used to play on and basically came into the NHL, and he's actually a really good player.
Yes.
People have to get over what happened to him in Columbus. Yeah, he was traded there and didn't want to play. Get over it. No one wants to play in Columbus. That's hard. People are going to hate me for saying that. And I'm just joking, by the way, everybody. People do want to play in Columbus.
Of course.
Yeah. But, with the team he was traded to was not that good.
No.
I don't know why you would come from a team that was in the Stanley Cup Finals the year before, which went to the Eastern Conference semifinals that year, may have been swept by the Bruins, that you just signed a 11-year discounted deal. He took a huge discount to play with the Flyers for the next 11 years, and then you get traded to a team that is in the bottom that is the bottom dweller.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he was pissed, and plus he was traded away from his best friend, Mike Richards.
Yes.
Which you had to get over. You're traded all the time, but still to a bottom dwelling team. He could have went about it better, but he's a human being. They have feelings.
Yes.
But yeah, he is a very good player. He's a very good center. He has a wicked wrist shot, like one of the best wrist shots in the league.
Oh boy.
He is a pure sniper, and because he's a bigger player, people underestimate how much of a shot he has. So people have to watch out for his wrist shot.
And speaking of defense and goaltending now, this is probably the topic that segues us into the Rangers, but we'll discuss the Kings' defense and Jonathan Quick for a bit here. It's maddening to me when the Kings aren't doing good, because I have no idea if it's the defense being bad or if it's Quick being bad.
or if it's just both. Because you can tell Quick can be good and the defense leaving him out to dry, making him look bad. But Quick could be bad and the defense being good, but still somehow it looks like the defense is being bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and I have to say, when Montreal was eliminated and the final three teams were LA, Chicago, and New York, I have to say, and of course especially now, there's got to be no question about it. Drew Doughty is probably the best defenseman in the league with those final three teams.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's more stars on the defense too. They have been without Regier for quite a while now.
I forgot he was on their team.
Oh yeah. I forget what happened to him. I think he was placed on IR sometime in the regular season.
I'll look it up.
But Alec Martinez is doing well. Jake Muzzin is doing well, better than most of the regular season, I think. The defense has been outstanding. Jonathan Quick in the last series, not so much. I believe his save percentage when that series was said and done was .888 or something like that. Not a very good save percentage.
I don't know. It doesn't say what happened. He had a knee injury.
Yes.
About a month ago.
Mm-hmm. And this is, Dave, where we segue into the New York Rangers, because I have to say, the Kings are probably the favorites, but with the goals Quick has allowed in that series against Chicago, what's to say the Rangers don't have a chance?
Because I have to say it's because Rick Nash is not being Rick Nash.
And
Martin St. Louis wasn't being Martin St. Louis last game. Brad Richards wasn't being the player we saw in 2004 and hasn't been that great. Derek Stepan has a broken jaw and hasn't been playing what he was playing before it happened. Like, their team is not performing the way that it looks like it should be. That is my big problem with them. Could they do it? Yeah, but their stars have to be better than they have been the entire playoffs. Outside of Martin St. Louis, their big four have been bad.
Yes, and I do agree, and it's I don't really know what that says about the team that much. It may say that they're I think they're obviously pretty good without him, because they made it to the Stanley Cup final with their big four being not up to their talent. But at the same time, it's got to be so taxing to think that you got to just make up for their lost play. The Rangers are good, but just imagine how awesome they would be if Nash and Richards and Stepan and that last guy who I can't think of.
St. Louis?
St. Louis, yeah. Just imagine.
He's a pretty okay player, Blake. How do you forget him? His last name is your team.
Yes, without the S. But in a side note, I'm fully convinced that St. Louis should sign him to a 2-day contract or so before retirement.
Everyone wants that to happen because it could be funny.
And it would
be literal.
Think of all the revenue we can get from St. Louis jerseys.
Yeah,
that'd be incredible.
Everyone would love to wear that.
Yeah,
but it's not gonna happen.
Yeah,
but there's not enough blue-shirted teams. He doesn't want to go on anymore.
Well, I mean, we can wear navy, which is kind of blue, but not exactly blue.
Ryan Miller didn't want on your team. Why would St. Louis want to be on your team?
Oh, now you have to
how is that Miller jersey going, by the way?
It's going to be getting here, perhaps sometime in July or so.
Who called that he wasn't signing with you guys? I forget. Pretty sure I said it on this podcast.
Well.
Anyway, let's go back to what we were talking about.
Yes, the Rangers are good now, but if Nash and Richards and Stepan and St. Louis, if they're playing to the best of their talent, just imagine how amazing they would be with
Yeah.
those guys.
Yeah, they would be amazing, but I still don't feel like they have the depth to do it.
Yo,
They traded away their entire depth scoring for Nash, and it hasn't really panned out well for them.
now, but
Then again, they have gone to the Stanley Cup Finals, so I guess it has panned out for them.
yes, and we'll review the Rangers' march to the Cup. They defeat Philadelphia Flyers,
Do we have
first
to?
round, 7 games.
I don't know what you're talking about. Did it end Game 6 when we beat them like 5-2? Thought it
um,
ended after that. No.
no,
Yeah, it was a back and forth series. Literally, no team won two games in a row. So back and forth series. If Steve Mason was playing for Philadelphia, the Rangers probably would have had a lot more difficult time. Steve Mason was there the entire series, but the Rangers defeated us. They had for that series, Lundqvist was just average during that
oh yes,
series. Ryan McDonough and Girardi were not playing like the first pairing defensemen that they are. They were actually not that great. Mark Stahl wasn't like their defense core during that series somehow was not playing up to par, but because of their shot blocking like capabilities and their just general back check capabilities, they were able to pull it out, in my opinion, and basically just stop any chance the Flyers have of entering the zone. Is what they did. They didn't allow a chance for their defensemen or their forwards to like get caught in a compromising position by just constantly breaking up any passes the Flyers did. Mainly because the Flyers don't have very good puck-moving defensemen at the moment. But we're working on that anyway. So that's what happened with the first series.
yes. And the second series, and the one that was most definitely, I think, the turning point for the Rangers, because at one point they were down 3-1, I believe, to the Pittsburgh Penguins.
I believe something like that. They were down. They were down at one point. New York won the first game.
Yes.
And then the Penguins tied up game 2, and then won 3 in a row. They were 3. It was a no. It went New York tied Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh. Wait, was that what it was? Hold on.
No.
It was 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they were up 3-1 at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 3-1 curse happened.
And you could say that was maybe because of playoff flurry or whatever.
Fleury was not bad.
No.
He played amazing during the playoffs this year. I have to give it to Marc-Andre Fleury. He shook off the demons he had this year. Whether they keep shooking off, like they were able to stay off next year, who knows? But this year he was able to shake off his demons and play up to, pretty good standard. After that one goal that happened in Columbus, where he went to play the puck and then didn't, and got scored on. But after that, he was able to shut it down and play very good. And no Penguin should be giving him shit because he kept your team in. It's your stars didn't do shit. They were making assists, yes, but they didn't play up to Crosby and Malkin and Neal and Letang and Kunitz standards.
I have to say that series was more the Rangers winning than the Penguins losing.
Yeah.
By far, I think. I don't want to say that Martin St. Louis' mother passing away was why the Rangers turned things around and are where they are now, but
it helped. I think it gave them something to kind of unite the team together, and they found a common purpose to win it for him, and he found the purpose of dedicating the cup to her. I think is what happened.
Oh yeah, and it's not just that one game. Win it for Marty and then just do whatever. their goal is to win the cup for Marty now.
They have a uniting
Essentially,
purpose.
yes. Mm-hmm.
And that is a strong thing for a team to have that common purpose like that one is. To win it for someone who has been hit that hard, and then for San Luis to win it for the person who raised him. Like, it's definitely gonna, if there's a reason they win, it's gonna be because of, I think, San Luis is gonna get the big goal, in my opinion.
Yes.
San Luis is gonna win it all for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was their second round. The Eastern Conference Final, they defeat the Montreal Canadiens.
Which wasn't much of a fight. The Canadiens were just gassed.
And you just have to wonder how different that series would have been if Carey Price had not been injured.
Oh, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely ran into luck with their goaltending matchups this year. The Rangers did, not being able to face Steve Mason, who when he came back was brilliant. Facing a team, even though they had a brilliant goaltender, that didn't have a defense to back up the goaltender, and then you face a not Carey Price person who was coming off an Olympic gold medal. They got lucky.
Mm-hmm.
If Carey Price was in there, he would have stolen games for the Canadiens.
Yes. I do think Tokarski,
he has a bright future.
Yes, and I think he did his job.
He did very well.
Fairly well.
He stole. He did very good. He was making saves that no one expected a rookie to make.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And
he has nothing to worry about in his life.
No. And I guess
he just got himself a contract from another team, I believe, as many people have been saying.
With Montreal's case, that series, they were just so beaten up, just so gassed from the Boston series that it just essentially just caught up to them. Their offensive output just dried up very quickly. Subban wasn't up to his talent.
Mm-hmm.
That Boston series just ended up taxing them.
Yeah, it's the only thing that you could boil it down to.
And I do think
they were just tired.
And I do think if Montreal would have had that extra bit in them to make it to the Cup, there's no doubt in my mind the Kings would have probably just steamrolled over them then in 4 or 5 games or whatever.
Oh yeah, they were just so gassed during that series. They would have just been even more gassed during the playoffs. And with the Kings riding a high still from, overtime win against Chicago, coming back from 3-0 deficit in a series win, and then just getting to the finals again. It's going to, I think, it would have made them steamroll the Canadiens.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No amount of stealing games from Carey Price would have saved Montreal, I think, then. But in any event, it's the New York Rangers in the Stanley Cup Final, and how they got there, I think luck, as you said, with luck from goaltending, and I also think with luck from Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and Montreal from not playing to the best of their abilities, I think.
Yeah.
But that's not to discount the Rangers, of course, because I think to even make it to a final and any sporting event, you have to have luck.
You have to have talent.
And talent and luck. It's got to be there. Mm-hmm.
There has to be a lot. It takes a lot to win a game. Then it takes a lot more to win a series. But to win the Stanley Cup, it takes a lot of luck and skill. Like, everything just compounds on each other. And this is a team that could be lucky enough to win it.
And I think this will hinge greatly on, again, if their big four finally steps up. But if not, they'll probably have to rely on Lundqvist a whole lot. And that's certainly a very fascinating thing to see because keep in mind, folks, this is Henrik Lundqvist's first appearance in the Stanley Cup Final.
It's amazing to think a goaltender of his caliber has never
And
been to a Stanley Cup final.
yes,
I mean, I guess the team he's always played on hasn't been that good in their history, and he's finally gotten a team that could compete. But still, he's gonna be playing out Stanley Cup playoffs. Lundqvist is really good. Stanley Cup
yes,
Finals Lundqvist is going to be amazing.
and
We see how he was in the Olympics. He
yes,
down outstanding Olympics. This is something he's dreamed about now. Yeah, everyone dreams about either getting the gold or getting the Stanley Cup. Almost all hockey players.
hmm
And he is going to throw everything on the ice. And hopefully his team is there to back him up.
yes,
As much as I don't want his team there to back him up.
yes. Well,
Personal reason.
that was
A very
looking at the
long-winded preview of the Stanley
goal.
Cup Final.
Oof,
We are at
I'm
1 hour of our show now.
I'm gassed from that. Let's end the show now. Bye, folks. But anyway,
We'll go into. Well, I guess we'll do a. I guess not too in-depth look at the game yesterday,
yes,
with the Kings beating the Rangers in overtime, 3-2, and Mr. Game 7 himself, the man, the myth, the legend, Justin Williams scores the OT winner.
becoming Mr. Game 1. The man, the myth, the legend, Justin Williams, yes.
I asked a question about 45 minutes ago, but does everyone think the first win in the Stanley Cup Finals is important? Because I think it's gone on. I think there's like a statistic out there is like of people that win the game like the first game, like 90% of them or something like that end up winning the series.
Oh,
Like
yes.
most people that win the first game win the series. I don't remember the statistic, but it's something. It's an obscenely large number that win. And the only one person responded, and it was a Rangers fan, saying it's not at all important. In fact, it's quite overrated. I wonder why you think that, Ryan. Why do you think it's overrated? Yeah. So
No.
I don't know how important it is. It all depends on the team and how they can bounce back. So
I think most of the time, the winner of that Game 1, I think what they do when they take that Game 1, and this is in any sporting event, the World Series, the Stanley Cup Final, the NBA Finals, whatever, the winner of that Game 1, they set the tone for what they would like the rest of the series to go, how they would like it to go in their favor.
Yeah.
They inform the loser that this is how they're going to play. And
then the loser has to put up or shut up.
yeah, so I do believe that Game 1 is actually quite important.
I personally believe it too.
Because they show you that's the way they're going to play for how long this is going to go, 4, 5, 6, 7 games.
And then also there's the factor of, hey guys, 3 more wins. That's 1 less win than the other team has.
Mm-hmm.
We can do this. It is the riding high. We're 3 wins away now from the Stanley Cup. We can do this. And plus, they're probably gonna lie to Justin Williams and say it's Game 7 for the rest of the series.
Like, yeah, rest of the series. Just
hey, Justin Williams, it's Game 7. Okay.
Alrighty. Put Spuck in that, yeah.
Hey, Justin, we're lied. Game 7's next week.
Oh. Damn you guys.
Yeah, but one of the big things from that game that was most people were kind of worried about was the Jekyll and Hyde appearance of the Kings.
Oh boy.
They had a horrible first period, and then what was it? Hold on, I had it actually pulled up, but they did not play a good first series whatsoever. I'm looking at the box score right now, and I mean they out-hit the Rangers something like 24-12 in the first series. I mean, the shots were only 14-13 in their favor, but they were just looking disheveled. And with the Rangers scoring the first 2 goals, goals by Pouliot and then Hagelin, which was a shorthanded goal at that,
Hmm.
Shorthanded breakaway goal.
A deflected off of Voinov's skate for
Hmm.
that one.
Yeah, that one. Was
I
that?
think
Yeah, was
the
that that one?
yes, that
I know. I
Pouliot's was a
thought
breakaway.
the Pouliot was the bounce off. I thought what was that Hagelin's that bounce off? I thought Hagelin just went in on what went in and
Yeah.
shot it past quick, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
With no bouncing off anybody. That's true. But yeah.
I think the um, well, the Kings are a much different team now than they were in 2012.
Yeah.
They have new faces there that that haven't got the chance to see what LA does in the Stanley Cup final.
Hmm.
They were they I think they were essentially just really jittery.
Hmm.
They were, uh, of course, really excited that they're here, and they're just like, oh my God, this is it, we're here.
And they were kind of nervous a little bit, I
They,
guess.
that
Yeah.
yeah, they let their emotions get the best of them there. Um, Luckily, though, they didn't have to solely rely on Daryl Sutter, whoever in the locker room, just stressing to them to tone it down a little
Yeah.
because Kyle Clifford scored with 17:33 in the first.
Yeah.
So they got that goal to kind of
Kind of.
build off on. I don't.
You only need one goal by the end of the first period to really mount a comeback.
Yeah. Hmm. And I don't. Um, I honestly don't think this first period is too much of a concern, or should be too much of a concern for Kings fans. Um, I seriously doubt that we're going to see a similar start from the Kings in Game Two, because
Yeah.
now everyone's settled in. They know what to expect. They'll be ready for the morning skates and all that. And they're settled in. They fully understand what to do now.
Hmm.
They just needed more time to settle in than
Sure.
what Kings fans
Yeah.
would have liked to have seen.
I know LA Kings Dave, he was freaking out about that first period so much. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm very happy the Kings won. It's one win closer to that banner going away.
Oh, and um I guess I'll speak as a Blues fan watching this Stanley Cup final. Um, I know uh, LA and St. Louis are kind of supposed to have a rivalry going
Are they?
because I'm
I was not
I
aware of this.
I'm told of this.
You're total this mythical being.
Yeah,
The
I
rivalry
don't.
of Kings.
I know we have a history in the playoffs. I guess
Yeah.
kind of like Chicago and Vancouver, only less dirty. Um, I guess kind of like that, but
Okay.
I I kind of view Los Angeles as like our big brothers. They have the cup, so they're going to be the highly touted one, and we're just sitting there trying to we're just trying to impress them.
You're the baby. Your team's the baby brother of the 1967 NHL entry.
But yes, yes,
You are the baby little
yes.
brother that we're kind of just letting tag along.
Hmm.
We already shipped out a couple other brothers that we had. We don't want them anymore. You're just allowed to stay. Who knows how
Yeah.
much longer you're allowed to stay? The
Yeah.
Flyers being the oldest brother, just saying.
Hmm. And it's because of that standpoint, I do not show as much disdain for the Los Angeles Kings as other Blues fans would.
Mhm. I mean, with the Kings, I don't like them as much as other Flyers fans have, because they have former Flyers on their teams. You should love them. They're not on our team anymore. Why should I love them? I mean,
I
when Gagne was there, yes, I love Gagne. I would happily vote, like cheer for Gagne, but the other players, okay. Justin Williams, I didn't really watch too much of hockey when he was on the Flyers. So, and then Jeff Carter, he didn't show up big games for us. So I was okay, fine. We got very good return for Jeff Carter. I'm fine with not rooting for him anymore. Mike Richards is difficult at times because he was a hard soul player,
He was
but
a
he
former
is not
captain
doing
too, I
good.
believe.
Yeah, he was our former captain, but he is
Hmm.
not doing good on the Kings right now. He's moved to the fourth line, so it's easier to stomach not rooting for him because he is not doing good. So it's not like he's really on the team.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
And one of the big things I want to talk about for the Rangers, at least, they had 3 shots in that third period, and then were outshot 43 to 27. Is that a cause for concern for the Rangers?
oh, excuse me. And now you know it was interesting for those of you watching on the NBC broadcast,
Mm.
and if you remember, I forget who said it. It may have been Milbury, or it may have been the other guy whose name I can't think of right now.
Oh, what's his name?
Not Liam, but the other one.
Oh, Jonesy? Keith Jones?
Yes, yes. I think it may have been him that said it. He was asked by Liam
Mm-hmm.
if who has the most confidence, and he said the Rangers have the most confidence because, um, yes, I understand they allowed 2 goals and blew away a 2-goal lead, but their physical play was really good that period.
But they were out hit in the first period. In the third period, maybe not. But yeah, they were out hit 45 to 33 by the end of the game.
Well, hmm and I guess the physical play is okay for the Rangers. I mean, yes, they were out hit, but again, they actually managed a lot of hits, and I
Mm-hmm.
think most of the time that's what's overlooked when you look at stats. Just because a team was had the fewest numbers of a stat than the other team doesn't mean they were bad at that stat.
That is true.
Like, let's say a team was being outshot, I don't know, 45-44. Would you say that team with 44 shots wasn't doing so good at shots?
Well, with that close of shot numbers, they're both the
Yeah,
same. Same
I
pace.
mean, I mean, but still, what was that
Yeah,
hit count again?
it was 33 to 45. Quite a big difference.
Oh, well, but still, I mean, 33 hits, that is a lot
That's
of
still a
hits.
pretty good amount of hits, yeah. One
Yeah.
of the big things is the shot counter for me. 27
Uh,
to
y-
43, almost a double.
yeah. hmm And of course, that's how you score the goals by
I mean,
shooting the puck. So
in the third period, it was they are outshot 3 to 20.
yes.
That is the biggest stat, I think, that shows the Rangers were not up to par this game. 3 shots in the third period to the Kings 20.
Now,
Do
you
that.
could say because the Kings' defense was just absolutely just locking them down, but I don't even
For
think
6 of those minutes, they were on the penalty kill, so
yes,
that could have something to do with it.
yes, but
But
I
they
don't.
had 3 shots and they had a power play
hmm
within the period, so
But I don't think you could say the. I don't believe the Kings' defense was even that good to solely be the reason the Rangers got 3 shots on net.
mhm,
Um,
yeah,
Perhaps it could have been, though. Maybe the Rangers were trying to be a little too finesse, I guess.
I guess.
But one of the things you're told a whole lot by coaches, commentators, or whoever. It doesn't have to be pretty. You just got to put the puck in the net.
Dirty goals are the best goals.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, well, I guess we spent I guess, like 10, 15 minutes not answering that actual question. So we will now answer that question, which I forget what it was.
The shot counter, like, uh, Rangers had 3 shots in the third period. Do you think this is a cause for concern?
um,
I think it is a cause for concern because you can't be outshot that much and think you're going to be having a chance.
oh no, no. Um,
It just shows there was no confidence for the Rangers in the third period because as the third period was going on, without them getting shots, don't you think that was weighing on their mind? And it's going
oh,
to weigh on,
absolutely,
and now
yeah.
that they know the numbers from going and probably getting talked to by the coach while getting yelled at by the coach, and then hearing all this, it will be on their mind that they were outshot massively, and when you're thinking about stuff like that, it will do more harm than good, in my opinion.
And
Then again, they're not rookies,
no,
so it
no,
could be easier for them to brush it off.
and
Which
that's
they
how
shouldn't
I
just
was.
brush it off. They should, acknowledge it, be like, yeah, we got to do better, and hopefully they can use it to their advantage and turn it into being good.
hmm And that's how I was trying to formulate my answer. For most teams, I think, of course, that would be a cause for concern if you're in just a playoff series or, of course, even in the Stanley Cup final. But again, the Rangers are very experienced, and I do think that third period, especially, is one of the things um, they're going to focus on and hopefully try to fix heading into game two because I still think they played exceptionally well in the first period, of course.
Yeah, everyone knows
Um,
they did very. Or was that just the Kings not playing well? Who knows? It could be the Kings not playing well kind of
I,
made them seem like they were playing good. It's one of those things you're like not quite sure which happened.
I mean, it just felt like to me though, um, it looked to me that the Rangers really studied did their homework.
Hmm.
Um, they were getting the puck in the past the blue line. They were keeping some fairly good sustained offensive pressure. They were generating some fairly good chances.
Hmm.
Excuse me. And twice they capitalized on those very good chances. Um, I did feel that was more the Rangers doing than the
Okay.
Kings.
Okay.
But again, they played exceptionally well in the first. The second, not so much, of course.
The Kings started to come on at that point, so.
Yes, but they still weren't bad.
Hmm.
They were they were holding their own.
Hmm.
Is how I would describe the second period.
I mean,
And
they were still out. They outshot the Kings in the second period. Those shots isn't a very good indicator of who was good, who was bad. They
right.
did outshoot them.
hmm And I think, um, well, actually, that second period, I guess the Rangers were more lucky than anything. I think Lundqvist was holding his own real well in that second period. It could have easily turned into 3-2 Kings heading into the third, but
Yeah.
it was still tied at 2 heading into the third. Um, I guess it says a lot about Lundqvist too.
Yeah.
Um, he knows when the team will need him, and he was doing real well. Keep the team in there through, of course, the second and the third period there.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to come back on pretty good the second in game two. If the Rangers win, it's going to be because of Lundqvist.
Yes.
He is going to pull some ridiculous saves, give the Rangers momentum, and cause their team to score somehow. And he might even put the puck in the net himself somehow.
Yes. And again, if I'm Alain Vigneault, I would put just a tad bit more focus on that third period in fixing that third period. I would, of course, keep them reinforce, saying, hey, that was a really good first period. Maybe you should try that again.
But make sure it happens longer.
Yes. And just don't have that third period again, you got to shoot the puck eventually,
And I guess this is how we can segue into tomorrow's game, which is
Yes.
happening tomorrow, Saturday's game, having at 7 p.m.
Yes.
It's gonna be the same team, so I can't really go into that. But how do you think the Rangers are going to bounce back?
And I will say for both teams, the Kings very very rocky first period, and the Rangers poor third period performance there. I don't think we'll see either of those. I actually think this will be a full, very intense 60-minute game. It'll go down to the wire. I think Game 2 is where you'll really see just a fantastic goalie duel here.
We always need one of them. Every
Yes.
playoffs you need a good goalie duel. There hasn't really been a huge goalie duel this playoffs.
And I do, and again, I do think the Kings and the Rangers, I do believe they'll greatly fix their poor performances in the
definitely. There are two
first
teams
and the
that
third
could do
there.
it. I mean, Alain Vigneault is not a bad coach. Daryl Sutter is not a bad coach. They can turn their teams into very good people.
And when they do that, and they get a lot of good sustained pressure, and they get the puck on net a lot, that's where you're going to see that goalie duel, and it's just going to be a matter of who will blink first. I don't think I'd be too terribly surprised to see like a 1-0 win or a 2-1 win or something like that.
I hope Lundqvist blinks first. Personally.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I guess, and how do you think the Kings are going to keep up on the pressure? What do you think they're going to need to do? They got to fix that first period, personally. But past that, they have to just keep throwing the pucks at the net, like they did last game, like they did the last period. Like they have to keep throwing the pucks at the net and being physical. As horrible and cliche of an hockey answer that is, gotta go to the dirty areas, gotta throw the pucks to the net, do everything you can to force Lundqvist to make all the saves and get him to be tired. Because while he may make the saves, he will be tired, and come, Game 5, Game 6, Game 7, he will be beat from how many Game 7s he's had.
And surely, you just know by now, the Rangers are gonna try their hardest to shut down Gaborik and Kopitar.
But they have a second line that could pick that up. That 70 line.
Yes.
That is the big thing with the Kings. They have scoring lines about. Like, any of the four lines could score, in my opinion.
Yes.
Well, not so much the fourth line, but the first three lines could.
Yes. So, how the Kings sustain their offensive pressure being the question, my answer would be use that 70s line to its full potential.
Mm-hmm. Roll two lines deep constantly.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can roll four lines deep because the other two lines aren't bad. I mean, Justin Williams is on the third line.
Yes. And I do believe that third line is one of the most underrated on that team.
Oh, definitely. And now looking at the team, they can roll three lines.
I think
Mike Richards isn't bad either.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably going to start picking it up, hopefully, for them.
Mm-hmm. And I think Game 2, one of my predictions is you'll see a lot more of the second and third lines because, again, you just know the Rangers are going to try to shut down Gaborik and Kopitar, and with good intentions too. They're essentially what makes that team go.
Yeah.
But they still have very good offensive depth.
Mm-hmm. They're definitely one of the deepest teams in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see what happens there.
And on the flip side of the coin, I guess how how do the Rangers respond? What will they
Yeah.
need to do?
They're going to have to shut down the Kings lines. All intents and purposes. McDonough and Girardi have to play like the top pairing defensemen that they are. They're two of the best, like two really good defensemen in the league. When they're on, they can stop many people. They
Oh
have to
yes.
play up to a very, they have to play up to standards that they were given by being top pair defensemen. I mean, when you have Mark Stahl as your second pair defenseman, you have to have very good top pair.
And I actually do believe still that Mark Stahl is a pretty good defenseman
I personally believe
um,
too, yeah.
when he's at the top of his game. Yeah.
I mean, the concussion that he had slowed him down a
Oh
lot.
yeah. And I think Stroman. I think Stroman is a good match for him.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think the big focus for this then for the Rangers will be their defense. Again, I agree. McDonough, Girardi, they'll have to be at the top of their game. Stahl's going to be have to be at the top of his game. Strowman will have to keep up with him. But let's not overlook that third pairing, Klein and Diaz.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Looking at them in game one, I actually was pleasantly surprised with their performance. I think they were.
I didn't hear them much in game one, which is a good thing with defensemen.
Yes.
So people always like when it comes to defensemen, they're like, "Oh, I haven't heard anything from him." My first thought is that's a good thing. That means they're not fucking up.
Yep. No news is good news for
When
defensemen. Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, their third line is actually very underrated. I mean, Kevin Klein came from a defensive system in Nashville, and he was trained under a very good defensive coach in Barry Trotz. And then was, on the same team as, a little guy named Shea Weber. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. He's pretty okay. So,
Yeah.
I heard he's okay. I'm not quite sure. I feel like my team has offer sheeted him at least
He
once.
plays for the Flyers, doesn't he?
Yeah, I really wish.
Yeah.
He would have for 14 years if that deal went through.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Our Vic problems would be so fixed with him.
Yeah. But anyway,
back to the Stanley Cup.
With the Rangers, the defense I think will have to be that X factor. Lundqvist, he's fine. He just needs to keep playing his game.
He has to be Lundqvist.
Doesn't really need a whole lot of improvements from Lundqvist after what I saw in Game 1. But again, the offense, as Dave and I have said a couple times, that big four, Nash and Steppen and Richards and St. Louis, they're going to have to step up, definitely. I actually think St. Louis, he's done a whole lot better than he has, say, in the first round, in the first and most of the second round of the playoffs. I think
he did very good in those first 2 rounds. He was the only one scoring in basically the first couple rounds for them.
Oh.
I mean, they had Bassard and Pouliot scoring, and Zuccarello mostly, but St. Louis was actually scoring a good number. And Stefan wasn't doing bad until he got the injury, and he's kind of been quiet since.
Yeah.
But, when you break your jaw, that kind of happens.
Yeah. But I think the offense, from what I saw, they can improve. Of course, there's always room for improvement.
Always room, yeah.
But other than that third period, which, again, I do seriously believe that they'll get that fixed, and we'll see a much different third period out of them.
Oh, definitely.
They did fairly well that game. If they improve, great. If not, then the onus will be on the defense.
To step up and kind of hold it.
Yes, which is why, again, I believe that for the outcome of the whole game, not just for how the Rangers will do, who wins and who loses, I think will depend on the Rangers' defense.
And now that we're going into an hour and a half, I guess we should start wrapping it up.
Yes.
I feel like we've hit many of the things we wanted to talk about. Many things we didn't even know we wanted to talk about.
Well, yeah. And quickly, I guess, just
Who do you think's
before
gonna win?
we, yes,
Who do you think?
Stanley Cup final predictions, Dave.
I'm going with Kings in 6.
I'm going with Kings in 7.
You think
Um,
it's gonna go to Game 7?
absolutely.
I hope it
Um,
does, and the Kings win, just to be like, yeah, we played all the games in the Stanley Cup Finals. 2 years ago, we tried to go the easy route and go up 3-0 in all 4 of our series. This year, we decided to be difficult.
hmm hmm
But I think it's Kings in 6. I think they can finish it off in 6.
I do
I
believe
hope
Kings
they
in
finish
7,
it
and
off
I
in
do
6.
I do think Lundqvist is that factor. The defense.
But Lundqvist cannot score goals. That's my thing.
Well, I mean,
No goalie can score goals as much
I
at the rate they need.
hmm well, I do think Lundqvist has the ability to keep the team in when the rest of the team isn't going to keep him in. I think Lundqvist is going to be a tough nut to crack. I think for this series to come.
I can
But
see that.
when it comes to depth, of course, the Kings have the advantage in the depth, um, which is why I believe Kings in 7.
Okay.
I will say, though, according to the second annual Blake Stanley Cup simulator, which so far is a 100% accuracy rating.
Because you did it one other time.
Yeah, but still.
You can't just say it's 100% when you've done it once.
Well, I mean, 1 for 1, 100% simple math. But anyway, that simulation has Rangers in 7, so.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So.
Alrighty, well, that
Yeah.
will wrap up the show that, well, Dave and I thought would only go like a half hour or something.
Yeah, we did pretty well.
Alrighty.
I'm very proud of us. That has been the 8th taping of the Wooden Ball Show. I am your host, Dave Ball, also known as Blinson on Reddit and at Blinson1 on Twitter. And with me, every Thursday, is Blake Wood. He is at ShatMyKirk on Twitter, and then B-Town Bomb on Reddit. You can listen to the other shows that we have. You can find the schedule on our subreddit, which is our HockeyCast, which is very difficult to say.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a website you can always check out, which is ourhockeycast.com. And you can always follow us here on the Twitter page, which is at ourhockeycast. We have another show coming up tonight, I believe. We'll have the After Hours show. Who knows what they're going to talk about.
I hear
It's always fun to
just
listen to,
oh
just to hear
boy.
them go.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy it. So, what were we going to say before I went into all that?
Surely the After Hours got to be one of our highest rated shows in this podcast. It's got to be. They're a wild and zany bunch. They are indeed always fun to listen to. I highly recommend the After Hour.
Every morning when I go into work, that's what I listen to every Friday and every Tuesday. I enjoy it. I laugh. So. All right. Any other final thoughts, Blake, before I hit the stop broadcast button?
We're in the fun part of sports. We're at the Stanley Cup final. It's going to be fun. And if you like basketball, the NBA finals, they're starting tonight. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun championship season coming up for you here.
Okay, so hope you guys all have a good night. This has been the Wooden Ball Show, and we're signing off.